biggest story on India Upfront, told to you in an uncompromised, unbiased and bold manner. Viewers, the AAP was founded on the backbone of an agitation with a mission, with a cause. The name of that cause, name of that mission was India Against Corruption. Today, the party that was born from activism is being accused of large-scale corruption. The CBI this morning raided no less a personage than one of the leading lights of the movement India Against Corruption, someone who has been perhaps the closest associate of Arvind Kejriwal, who is also Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister, Manish Sisodia. 20 other locations across 7 states were also raided. Lieutenant Governor Saxena had recommended a CBI probe last month after a report from the Delhi Chief Secretary, who reports to Mr. Kejriwal, alleging irregularities in Delhi's new liquor policy. Under the policy launched in November, liquor shop licenses were handed over to private players. The CBI has filed a first information report and is investigating the matter. In my hand is the FIR in which, viewers, the CBI is claiming that kickbacks were paid to top officials of the Kejriwal regime, including Mr. Manish Sisodia. Here, in this document, in this FIR, right up on top as the first accused is Mr. Manish Sisodia's name. We are being told that it's quite possible that Manish Sisodia will in fact be arrested. The Congress party, not the BJP, the Congress party today released photographs. And let's go back to that 4 window. The Congress party released photographs. You can see on the extreme right at the bottom of your screens of one of the key accused, Amit Arora, director of MS Buddy Retail Private Limited, a bar owner, Dinesh Arora, another individual concerned with the business, as having been in contact with Mr. Manish Sisodia as well as Arvind Kejriwal. Sources have said that the CBI officials seized confidential official files relating to the new excise policy from the home of a public servant. The identity of the public servant is yet to be revealed. No cash recovery has been made so far. The searches are expected to continue. The Delhi Chief Minister, Arvind Kejriwal, launched a strident counter-attack. Kejriwal said the CBI landed at Sisodia's doorstep, and I quote him, "The day the Delhi education model was praised in the New York Times, and Mr. Sisodia's picture landed on the front page of the American newspaper." Mr. Kejriwal also said, and I quote, "There have been raids in the past too, but nothing came out of them, and nothing will come out of this either," unquote. Kejriwal said that the BJP wanted to besmirch Sisodia as it was unnerved by the global recognition his educational model was getting. Listen in to what Mr. Kejriwal said in his defense as he held up the copy of the New York Times.
दुनिया के सबसे शक्तिशाली देश के सबसे बड़े अखबार के फ्रंट पेज पे ये दिल्ली के शिक्षा मॉडल पे खबर छपी है। इस खबर में मनीष सिसोदिया जी की फोटो छपी है। न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के फ्रंट पेज पे आने के लिए दुनिया के सभी देशों के प्रधानमंत्री, राष्ट्रपति मतलब बेचैन रहते हैं कि हमारा नाम, हमारी फोटो आनी चाहिए। वहां पे मनीष सिसोदिया जी की फोटो छपी है आज कल के न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के अंदर। इस खबर का मतलब यह है कि मनीष सिसोदिया को भारत, दिल्ली का नहीं, देश का नहीं दुनिया का सबसे अच्छा शिक्षा मंत्री घोषित किया गया एक तरह से।
The BJP responded accusing the Aam Aadmi Party of leaning on a foreign crutch. The BJP said that it's a shame that AAP in its desperation was using a publication with a noticeable anti-India bent to divert attention. This is of course what the BJP believes, given the fact that the New York Times, according to it, has been partisan in its reportage on India. Listen in, viewers, as this unspooled, this entire fight.
न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में जो ये आर्टिकल जो छपा है, जिसके आधार पर ये वर्ल्ड क्लास एजुकेशन मॉडल की बातें कर रहे हैं, ऐसा ही हूबहू आर्टिकल खलीज टाइम्स में छपा है और यहां तक कि फोटोज और वर्ड्स भी सेम हैं दोनों आर्टिकल के। अगर न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स ने बहुत रिसर्च करके तथाकथित रूप से ये कहा हो कि लिसन, ये इनका वर्ल्ड क्लास मॉडल है एजुकेशन का, हम इस पर स्टोरी कर रहे हैं, ये कोई एडवर्टाइजमेंट दी हुई या ये प्लांटेड वो इस प्रकार की चीज ना हो, तो दोनों आर्टिकल्स में उसी समय पर उसी डेट पीरियड में सेम फोटोज और सेम वर्डिंग्स के साथ कैसे आर्टिकल्स छप सकते हैं?
आज तक कभी भाजपा के किसी नेता की खबर तो छपी नहीं। अगर पेड न्यूज है तो सबसे ज्यादा पैसा तो भाजपा के पास है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी अपने आप को दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी पार्टी कहती है, सबसे अमीर पार्टी है, तो उसे तो रोज फ्रंट पेज पे होना चाहिए न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के। अगर न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स को कोई खरीद सकता है तो ये तो हास्यास्पद बयान है। इन पे क्या बेफजूल की चर्चा की जाए।
सीबीआई की रेड है, इससे इतना क्यों घबराए हुए हो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, मनीष जी? जवाब नहीं देंगे, क्या करेंगे? ये देखो जी, न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में छपा है। अब हमको हमारे देश को न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स की सर्टिफिकेट दोगे आप अरविंद केजरीवाल? न जाने भारत के खिलाफ कितने फेक और निगेटिव न्यूज के जिम्मेदार न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स का सर्टिफिकेट आप लो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, भारत को जरूरत नहीं है।
नेशनल टीवी पे आके झूठ बोलते हैं। ये न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स है, इसके ऊपर जिसने ये खबर लिखी है उसका नाम छपा हुआ है। ये मैंने हाईलाइट किया है, करणदीप सिंह, न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स फ्रंट पेज न्यूज, हिंदुस्तान के लिए गर्व की खबर। खलीज टाइम्स नाम लिखा हुआ है, वही नाम। ऐसे ही अंतरराष्ट्रीय अखबारों के बीच में इस तरीके का समन्वय होता है, इस तरीके की बहुत सारी कॉमन न्यूज होती है।
Viewers, Kejriwal's reliance on a foreign publication may prove problematic because on several occasions the opposition has criticized Modi's NDA for doing the same. It will open up the charge that there is duplicity. In any case, the NYT has been criticized for taking partisan positions in its coverage on India on weighty global issues, also including its coverage of American domestic politics. Viewers, New York Times was called out for its political bias for not adequately reporting on allegations of corruption against Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden in the lead up to the elections. It gave an open platform to Asif Ali Zardari in 2008, the then president of Pakistan, to distance his government from the 26/11 attacks. That became a big talking point in the country. It gave an open platform to Imran Khan to attack India's abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. Imran Khan vented his spleen in that article, causing a huge amount of irritation here in the country. Apparently, viewers, a similar rebuttal was rejected. A prominent former diplomat came out and said how his article was rejected. It described Jammu and Kashmir as a living hell of anger and fear in August 2019. It claimed in May 2021 that India's COVID death toll in the worst case could be more than 10 times what was officially reported. It was forced to apologize for its cartoon mocking Mangalyaan mission in October 2014. Viewers, now, after Times Now contacted New York Times, sent them a query on whether this was paid PR, we are being told that a response has been sent 2 times now by the New York Times, and I want to bring in Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan. Madhav, what exactly has the New York Times said in its response to Times Now's query on this particular issue?
Well, it's a written response, Rahul, and it's a response that we've received via email in response to a query that had been sent by Times Now. And this is a 2-sentence reply. They've said that our report about efforts to improve Delhi's education system is based on impartial, on-the-ground reporting, and education is an issue that New York Times has covered over many years. Journalism from the New York Times is always independent, free from political or advertiser influence. Other news outlets routinely license and republish our coverage. So the claim of the Aam Aadmi Party that this was a syndicated article appears to have been upheld by the New York Times for the moment, at least through this statement. And they also say that there is no question of any kind of paid news or any kind of advertiser or political influence as far as the New York Times is concerned. But this is, of course, a statement coming in from New York Times. So perhaps to that extent, the BJP would have perhaps raised an issue without doing its research properly. However, the question still remains that irrespective of these articles that were published in foreign publications, the charges that are being leveled by the CBI are very serious in nature, and will they be able to counter those effectively continues to remain an important question.
Viewers, of course, that debate on the credibility of the New York Times will continue here in this country. It is, of course, a robust publication which has, however, according to the BJP, and if you just open the paper over the years, given space to individuals who have taken a partisan position. Nonetheless, many call it still a newspaper of record. But for a moment, let's focus on the case and the allegation in AAP's defense. What are some of the facts? On 8 July 2022, Chief Secretary of Delhi flagged policy deviations to the Lieutenant Governor and the Chief Minister, that is Mr. Kejriwal. The Chief Secretary, of course, reports to Mr. Kejriwal. The charge is that urgent cabinet meeting was called on 14th July 2022 without 48 hours notice as is required. Viewers, within a week or so of the Chief Secretary flagging these policy decisions, and the cabinet gave post facto authorization to all policy tweaks. Another fact that is being claimed, they gave airport zone license before the NOC from Airport Authority. This is all there on paper. The charge is, as per rules, you can't give license without Airport Authority NOC. There was a deviation there, obviously. The fact is that rupees 30 crores refunded to licensees when they didn't get the no objection certificate. The charge is that Rule 4811B, licensees forfeit deposits for failing to meet the criteria. The fact is that sans cabinet note, it removed a levy of rupees 50 on imported beer cases. The charge is that it made foreign liquor cheaper and led loss, and that caused a loss to the exchequer. The fact is the waiver of rupees 144.36 crores given to liquor licenses. The charge is no specific provision for reduction in the license fee. The fact is license operational period extended twice by Excise Department. The charge is without approval of Cabinet and subsequently the Lieutenant Governor. The fact is that licensees promoted liquor via social media / banners. The charge is liquor promotion violates Rule 26-27 of Delhi Excise Rules. Viewers, let's open this up. Let's open this up and let's ask some basic questions. Let me first begin with Professor Akashdeep Muni, who's with us. Professor Muni, can I ask you a very blunt question?
Yes,
why does the AAP suddenly need to rely on a newspaper that has been accused of partisan coverage of India to give itself a clean chit?
Rahul, first of all, nobody is relying on anybody. This is an international newspaper which is acknowledging the work that an Indian government has done in an Indian state. So this is a matter of pride. And they're just saying that the good work has been done. And on the day when these publications have come, on the same day CBI is raiding it, so it's an irony. So that's what they are saying, the Aam Aadmi Party people. And the second thing, what BJP has been saying since morning, that this is paid news. As per your own report, now in this particular section, that this is not paid news, this is a consolidated reportage done by New York Times.
That is what the New York Times is saying. I mean, you want to believe it? Then you should believe it. Then do you, sir? Do you believe the New York Times when it calls Kashmir a living hell? Do you believe it when it allowed columnists to say that Supreme Court's Ayodhya judgment pushed India towards majoritarianism? Do you believe it? One second. Do you believe it when it mocked India's Mangalyaan mission? Do you support the views on all of these issues of the New York Times, Mr. Muni?
Hundreds of reporters work in a particular...
I'm asking you this question. Forget about the hundreds.
I'm replying, sir. I'm replying. Hundreds of reporters work in a particular organization and tens of editors work.
Mr. Muni, do you agree? Do you agree with the position? No, one second. The charge is... One second. Yes. The charge is...
Okay.
The charge is... Look, viewers, the New York Times is a reputable institution. It is welcome to have its biases. You may like it, you may not like it, you may agree with it, you may disagree with it, you want to buy it, you can buy it, you don't want to buy it because you think it takes on India, rubbishes India, that's your call. Some people take great pride in being featured in the New York Times. There's nothing wrong with that. But viewers, there are many people who say that in its political orientation, it takes a partisan position against India. Partisan meaning it opposes every and any move being made by the Modi government. That is what the BJP will tell you. That's what a lot of people will tell you. Now you can be happy with that. One second. Sir, please, just give me 30 seconds. I'm only giving a context here because this question is an important one. So Mr. Muni, I just want to ask you yes or no. Do you believe the New York Times when it calls Kashmir a living hell? Should we be proud of this characterization according to you? It allows a columnist to say that Supreme Court Ayodhya judgment pushed India towards majoritarianism. Do you believe with this? Do you believe this assessment? It mocked India's Mangalyaan mission. Do you support these views of the NYT? Just asking this question, just for the record.
No, yes, for the record, I'm saying that no, and yes.
No. So here is Mr. Muni, a great sympathizer of the... Let me finish, sir. Let's take this step by step. So here is Mr. Muni, who says that on these issues, the New York Times has taken a partisan position that he doesn't agree with. No. So why should then we believe the New York Times when it gives the Aam Aadmi Party a great review?
Has the New York Times published only 3 articles in the total career?
No, I'm only asking, sir.
Thousands of articles that New York Times has published.
Okay.
There may be some articles which are wrong, some articles which are right. Similarly, the New York Times on Mangalyaan and Kashmir are wrong.
Okay.
On New York Times on Kejriwal government, school record is right.
Okay.
Simple.
So it is wrong on anything that the BJP does, but right on everything that the opposition does. Should I take it as that?
No, please take it as something which is done correctly.
Let me get. Okay. So if you don't support this because you think it's wrong, then if you think that New York Times was wrong then what is the guarantee that it is right about the education model now, Mr. Muni? That's my fundamental question.
Because I have been in Delhi and I've seen that how...
So it is your subjective opinion. Okay.
No, it's not a subject.
Your subjective
my
opinion.
This is a subject of. This is the opinion of number of reputed educational institutions. As I am a professor, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm only assessing this on what the BJP has said today, viewers. It has pointed out certain things. It is a well-known fact that on certain things the New York Times, according to Mr. Muni, was wrong. But on this article, the education model of Sisodia and the AAP government, it is right. Are we cherry picking here or not? That's a question that can be asked. Smita Prakash, where do you think this is coming from? What they write against the NDA government or initiatives taken by even the Supreme Court in the context of Ayodhya judgment is wrong. But on this model, it is absolutely right. And therefore, Mr. Kejriwal is saying that, look, because we were praised by the NYT, and as I said, viewers, some people do think, I think, it's a very robust publication. It might have a political perspective. I don't agree with its political perspective, but on a lot of other things, it's a brilliant newspaper, viewers. There's no doubt about that. I read The Spectator, which has a different orientation. I choose to do it because it vibes with my ideological approach. I may pick a certain section of the New York Times, the culture section, the arts section, brilliant. I may not agree with its politics, so I may choose not to read it. I might think it puts out fake news. But if there is been, as Mr. Muni is saying, no, on these points, why should we think that on another political issue it is right? Smita Prakash, are we cherry picking?
Look, Rahul, the raids were about excise and not about education. That's been pointed out all day by various commentators. But since there has been so much hullabaloo about the article or about New York Times, let's come to the article itself. I don't know how many people have read the article. Basically, the data has been sourced from Delhi government in that article. The reporter and the photographer, if they are two different people, have gone to one school. And they've got the pictures there. They've spoken to Atishi and some Aam Aadmi Party people. They've spoken to one student who's a garbage picker and also a student from that one school. And it's a total one-sided eulogy about that one school and about one education system of one party. I mean, for example, when NYT reports on, say, India's war on COVID, it doesn't go to just one city, does it? There is a comparative study which they do. When they did, but you'll see, like you pointed out, whether it is communal riots or Kashmir, you didn't see one pro-government article, whether it was center or state. It is India bashing through and through. It's legendary, done by its local reporters or by its op-ed columnists. And you and I have reported for almost 2 decades or 3 decades on Kashmir. We've seen that. That's as far as our memory goes back. Forget about education policy. In this article, there is no comparison with any state, with anybody, not even getting a secondary opinion in the article. It is just a validation of this one school. I mean, those who know foreign reporting in India, you talk about Imran Khan and Zardari, they even gave a column to Sirajuddin Haqqani, in whose house Zawahiri was caught and eliminated, rather not caught, but eliminated with a drone strike. This is the NYT, which, forget about what they said bloodshed is certain when Article 370 was done with. So NYT being held up as a gold. Sorry, I beg to differ. You know, I don't usually comment on any one article, but in this article, I must say this, that, okay, he has every right to do on just one school if he wants to. But if a chief minister of a state holds that up as a certification or validation of his education policy, I beg to differ.
Okay, you beg to differ. Let's set this aside now. Forget the New York Times for a few moments. Obviously, the Aam Aadmi Party believes that the NYT's word counts for everything, and this is what is rattling the BJP, that they have got global renown. Now, Dr. Raman, is this a good enough defense that, okay, we are being raided because the NYT has praised us, so we must be doing something right? When Mr. Muni says that a lot of what NYT is reported on, the serious issues, Ayodhya, Kashmir, Article 370, 2611, this, that, the other, Mangalyaan, all these very important issues, he doesn't agree with their take. So again, why should we agree with one and not the other? And Smita Prakash says, one source, it looks like handout journalism. That's what she's sort of suggesting. That's hardly something that the BJP would be ratified. I'm just trying to first set the motive aside. A lot of people are saying the motive for this raid, especially the Chief Minister, is this article.
Rahul, let's face facts. Whether you agree or whether Smita Prakash agrees or anybody else, the New York Times commands extremely high levels of credibility all over the world. Now, this is something that we can argue about and we can discuss, but that is a fact.
Yeah, it's a
fact. Now, the point here
Who
is
says
very
it's not
simple.
a fact? I'm saying it's a
Every
fact, but sir, no, hang on.
Proud.
We are not on the credibility.
Rahul, 1 second, Rahul.
Excuse
1
me.
second.
No, 1 second. Let me just finish.
I finished my sentence.
No, you're deliberately mixing what I was saying. No, hang on. Just roll back 30 seconds.
Spoke about the credibility.
Yes, she talked about of this one particular report.
Just now she
in
said,
the manner in which, listen to me, sir, please don't misquote her. Let her clarify. Smita Prakash, are you talking in general about the New York Times, or are you talking about its approach on hot button political issues concerning India?
She said
yes. Exactly. I'm talking about specific issues, whether with regard to communal riots, whether with regard to Kashmir, and in this article, I'm sorry to say, but not, and COVID, the India's fight against COVID. About Mangalyaan and all that, those were random comments. But these are things Kashmir went on for decades. The 90s reporting on Kashmir was horrendous. Till Al-Faran happened, Rahul, and it changed everything. Till Mumbai terror attacks happened and they started seeing India's point of view about war against terrorism. Till then, there was nothing from either the Washington Post or the New York Times. I am not saying that every article in New York Times is wrong reporting. I'm certainly not saying that, but they have made mistakes. So that's why I'm trying to say that it's not as if New York Times is the gold standard for anybody in India to hold up and say that this is the best publication and here is something that is a validation of our point of view.
Dr. Raman, now she's clarified.
1 second. 1 second. Rahul, what is her point? She wants to say that the Delhi's education system is poor quality, that Delhi has failed in providing good education to its school students in government schools. I mean, why do we want to?
You are just paraphrasing unnecessarily.
What is the point? If this article,
I'll tell you what the point is.
Delhi's education system.
No, you clearly said this article is not. You question the credibility of the article, yes or no? What does that mean? That means that an article which says Delhi is providing outstanding
education. So about the article, I am saying that this is what the article said. Where have I said about the Delhi's education system? Have I listed out to you? You just want to cherry pick on what you just want to cherry pick on what I have said. I did not say anything about Delhi's education system.
Why are you shouting,
Where have I said
Doctor?
about the system? I am talking about NYT and this article.
Okay, see, why are we discussing this? We are discussing this because of this reason, and I'll just play out Mr. Kejriwal's bite once again. I want to bring in Amit Malviya also. Please,
1 second.
I will play out, 1 second. Let's play out Mr. Kejriwal's bite. Let's put this in context. Mr. Kejriwal says, why am I being raided? Why is Mr. Sisodia being raided? Possibly could be arrested. Why? Because the BJP lost it. Why did they lose it? What do they fear? The Delhi model of education, which has been praised by none other than the New York Times. It's a big deal for us. So it has shaken the BJP to the core. Now, viewers, that was the motive. It's a very central part. It's the trigger for the raid. Very central part of the conversation. So obviously we are asking, would that be the case? And I will ask Mr. Malviya, but let's first listen in to Mr. Kejriwal, who made this an issue.
दुनिया के सबसे शक्तिशाली देश के सबसे बड़े अखबार के फ्रंट पेज पे ये दिल्ली के शिक्षा मॉडल पे खबर छपी है। इस खबर में मनीष सिसोदिया जी की फोटो छपी है। न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के फ्रंट पेज पे आने के लिए दुनिया के सभी देशों के प्रधानमंत्री, राष्ट्रपति मतलब बेचैन रहते हैं कि हमारा नाम, हमारी फोटो आनी चाहिए। वहां पे मनीष सिसोदिया जी की फोटो छपी है आज कल के न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के अंदर। इस खबर का मतलब यह है कि मनीष सिसोदिया को भारत, दिल्ली का नहीं, देश का नहीं, दुनिया का सबसे अच्छा शिक्षा मंत्री घोषित किया गया एक तरह से।
Okay, that's the reason. Amit Malviya, respond. That's the reason. दुनिया का सबसे एक किस्म से शिक्षा मंत्री नंबर 1 सक्षम शिक्षा मंत्री घोषित किया गया है. It's been declared by proxy by the New York Times, the gold standard. Number 1 almost the education minister anywhere in the world. That's what's rattled you. Respond, sir. Is that the motive for this raid?
Rahul, just give me a minute and a half to make my point. First of all, this article has been written by a gentleman called Karandeep Singh. He is the same author who in September of 2021 wrote an article saying that the number of COVID deaths in India is upward of 3 million, which is more than 30 lakhs. He was way off the target, and New York Times had featured him very prominently. I completely agree with Smita Prakash when she says that New York Times is partisan, and on hot button political issues, they needlessly meddle India's affair and take a very colored view of the situation on hand. As far as this particular article is concerned, and again, Smita Prakash made a very pertinent point about the lack of journalistic rigor. Let me just give you 2 data points which will tell you how bogus and perhaps a motivated an article it was. The enrollment in Delhi government schools has actually gone down, contrary to the claims of the Delhi government that students are moving from private schools to government. So the author parroted the Delhi government's version. The second point, and this will be borne out by the class 10th results, where Delhi does not even feature in the top 10. It has actually slipped to 14th and 15th rank. So if Dr. Raman was asking whether Delhi's education model needs to be questioned, then of course it needs to be questioned. And Sisodia, apart from being the best education minister in the country, in the world, he's perhaps far worse because Delhi's education matrix fares poorly than even Pondicherry. Equal comparison, it's a small union territory with 40 seats in the assembly. They fare far worse than Pondicherry, and I'm quoting Pondicherry because it is closer to Dr. Sumanthi Raman. He can go and check it out himself. Now, let me come to the excise policy issue, the reason why Sisodia and several other officers in the excise department have been raided. I have a simple question to ask, and nobody in the Aam Aadmi Party has answered this all day long. If this policy was so great, if it was so kosher, if it was so clean, then why did you rush to overturn this policy the moment an inquiry was ordered? That is the question that the Aam Aadmi Party needs to answer.
Let's viewers. Okay, fair enough. Let's put all the other issues aside. Forget about the motive. Forget about New York Times. Let's go to the heart of the issue. There are 5 questions that I'm going to pose to Sanjay Jha and, of course, Ishkaran Bhandari and Mr. Muni, as well as Dr. Raman. Now, what are these questions? If there was nothing wrong with the new excise policy, why did AAP scrap it and revert to the old one? Is the Delhi Chief Secretary who reports to the Chief Minister Kejriwal lying when he flagged policy deviations to both the Chief Minister and the LG of Delhi? Is it true that Kejriwal cabinet gave a post facto authorization to all policy tweaks after it was summoned urgently without the 48-hour notice, 5 or 6 days after the Delhi Chief Secretary flagged the deviations from the norm? Why did the new excise policy fall almost 1,000 crore short of revenue targets, and where did that money go? Some businessmen who were favored, according to the CBI, were also Mr. Sisodia's close associates. I'm not saying this. The Congress party has tweeted photographs of Dinesh Arora, who is an accused in a photo in a bar, apparently, with Mr. Sisodia. Do these alleged close associates give kickbacks to public servants for favors, as the CBI has claimed? Sanjay Jha, these are the most substantive questions. Let's get to them. Why was this new excise policy scrapped in favor of the old one moment an inquiry was initiated? What was it that was so wrong?
Rahul, just like you gave Mr. Malviya 1 minute 30 seconds of uninterrupted time, kindly do me the same favor.
Sure.
Let me quickly answer you. I'm not here to be a counsel for the Aam Aadmi Party. They have a spokesperson, he will defend it. But I do want to make this point in favor of all opposition parties in this country, that the BJP is ruthless and remorselessly today abusing its power through institutional abuse. It is using all the law enforcement agencies for pure political harassment. The technical details, I think the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson will articulate on it. But I do want to make a point here, because we have spent a lot of time discussing New York Times. And I heard Mr. Malviya sounding extremely rattled. And I'll tell you the reason why. You're a journalist, Rahul, and you've been honest about the fact that you love The Spectator. But the truth is, the holy grail of journalism is considered to be the New York Times, like it or not. And Mr. Malviya's Prime Minister and our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, his best friend Donald Trump, tried very hard to get interviews and articles placed in the New York Times. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is a pure example of the credibility and the standard that New York Times holds itself to.
Yeah,
and I agree with Smita,
it gave Haqqani a platform. It gave Haqqani a platform, a terrorist who has plotted numerous attacks, bled India dry. But it did not give Modi, because it holds itself to journalistic standards. It gave Imran Khan, who is the leader of a tin pot dictatorship, space, but not our Prime Minister, because they delight in provoking and demeaning him. Wow.
Well,
because they have
Rahul,
editorial standards. Do you agree with this characterization? Hang on. Do you agree with this characterization that Mangalyaan, hang on. Do you agree with the mocking of Mangalyaan? Do you think that was in good? It was in good interest.
Let me answer you.
Whose interest was that in?
You and Mr. Malviya may have greater faith in the Fox News. I don't. So let me answer your question.
Please don't jump to conclusion. Hang on, hang on. Listen, at least I'm not a hypocrite. Okay, I have said that the New York Times does a fantastic job of arts, culture. I will read it. No, hang on. Literary reviews. I will read it upside down. But when it comes to news reporting on India, unfortunately, it is partisan.
It is not. I will tell you why.
That's your opinion. That is your opinion. But I've given you some. Do you agree with these examples? Mangalyaan was a crap. No, 1 second. Was a crap shoot.
Let me finish.
No, 1 second. India's endeavor to send somebody to Mars, a mission, is a crap shoot, which is squeezing the poor dry in this country. I'm asking you this question.
Let me answer your question,
They
Rahul.
retracted that damn article.
I will prove to you why the New York Times.
Sir, please, I'm not on the New York Times. I asked you a question, and let me tell you, your own colleague Sandeep Dixit, what he has said today. He has said that, 1 second, that the entire corruption...
I'm not Sandeep Dixit.
Listen,
my name is Sanjay Jha.
I'm telling you what Sandeep Dixit, your own colleague in the Congress party, has said. He has said he's very happy that AAP's corrupt ways are being exposed. Because first, the BJP used the AAP to kill the Congress, and now when it thinks that it is a threat, it is going to expose the AAP for what it is, a corrupt party. This is
Rahul,
his assessment. And you are saying today that you and the others in the Congress party are taking umbrage at the fact that raids have been conducted, because you see that is the methodology of the BJP. So make up your mind.
Yes.
Which Congress
Rahul,
I believe
can you now give me 30 seconds, please, with my hands folded? In 30 seconds, I will expose to you why the BJP is extremely upset with the New York Times. Because the New York Times and many other publications endorse political parties before an election. The New York Times publicly endorsed not the BJP, but the Congress and the opposition before 2014 and 2019 elections. And I prefer that open, transparent democracy to media publications and TV channels that become cheerleaders for political parties and don't have the guts to take a position openly. That is the difference between New York Times and the Washington Post and the Economist vis-a-vis the others.
Okay, I'm glad that you fessed up to the facts, sir.
Very, very good.
1 second. 1 second. I'm glad that you fessed up.
That's why the BJP does not like the New York Times.
I'm glad,
that is
sir.
the truth.
I'm glad. 1 second.
Can I come in here, please?
Dr. Sumansi Raman, everything about India is contemptible to you, why don't you go and settle somewhere else? Why don't you tune into the BBC every night and watch? No, hang on, just a minute. Everything is contemptible. Everything in India is sold. No, hang on, 1 minute. No, hang on, just a minute. The same New York Times viewers. No, 1 minute. I'm having a good time here. The same New York Times that was so invested in Biden that it didn't cover. No, hang on, just lower his fader because this man will talk rot on national TV. It was so in the corner of Biden that it endorsed, that it didn't cover the biggest scandal involving his son, which viewers it then came out and apologized for. This is the journalism, Godi journalism, that the Congress party wants. Viewers, that's what it wants. Sanjay Jha today has told us that they endorsed Biden. I love the transparency to the point where they didn't cover the biggest scandal involving Biden's son. Big corruption kickback so-called scandal. And then it came out after the elections and said, oh yaar, galti ho gayi, miss ho gaya wo. Can you imagine, viewers? This is doctoring of facts by Sanjay Jha and Dr. Suman C. Raman's idea of what media should be. Before an election, cover up for your side. After the election say यार वो गलती हो गई, बताना भूल गए, अब हम आपको बताते हैं कि वो हुआ था. Can you imagine, viewers? So you have Biden, who may be compromised to China. Maybe the entire war that we are seeing, that Biden is accused of provoking in Ukraine, was to get the attention away from China. Maybe, viewers? Maybe he owes something to China. It's a question. But of course, Sanjay Jha loves the fact that they endorsed them to such an extent. Usko jitwa hi diya without asking one question about a big scandal in his own roof. That is the journalism that the Congress has got used to. That's why it clamped the emergency, viewers. It couldn't take criticism. That's why Nehru cut the First Amendment. Because he said that media criticism is affecting my governance. Can you believe it, viewers? This is the legacy of the Congress party. Yes, editor of ANI, Smita Prakash, wants to step in representing our fraternity. Ishkaran Bhandari right after that. Sorry, Ishkaran, I've had to keep you waiting.
No, I take serious objections to this, that, that they are bipartisan. They called Osama bin Laden a devoted family man. Osama bin Laden, who did the 9/11 strike, they called him a devoted family man. They legitimized the most illegal war. Where were the weapons of mass destruction which they said Saddam Hussein had? They legalized it. They endorsed that war. So, please don't tell me just because America is the most powerful country in the world and New York Times is published in New York or Washington Post is published in Washington, you turn around and say that you prefer that journalism to the journalism that happens in India. No, please, Mr. Jha, think about it again.
Yeah, because
about what
the journalism that happens in India asks uncomfortable questions.
India, you give more credence to that?
Yes, Ishkaran Bhandari. Well, naturally, because that's what they want. They want a newspaper to endorse, a candidate, which is not a bad idea, as long as you can go into the record and examine that record. But they also want that newspaper. You see, there's a son involved here also, viewers. A scion of a family, Biden. Maybe there is a parallel. They want, I don't know. The Congress has some sons also. Don't forget, some science. They don't want them investigated. So they want to have a newspaper, back that to the extent that any corruption scandals against science are not reported. And then as an afterthought, after the election, they say, oh yaar, wo bach gaya, we apologize to all of you. Anyhow, Ishkaran Bhandari, go ahead.
Rahul, I'm speaking after 40 minutes in the debate, waiting patiently. I hope no one will interrupt me. दिल्ली के एक्साइज स्कैम का, विस्की बियर रम का, ठेकों के अंदर स्कैम का, न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में एक एजुकेशन में आर्टिकल आता है, उससे क्या संबंध है? इसके लिए दिल्ली के सारे ठेके खाली होने पड़ेंगे, जनता को ड्रंक होना पड़ेगा, तभी इसके अंदर लॉजिक ढूंढ सकते हैं वो. Except one simple point, yes, Kejriwal is a superb communicator. On a day his deputy CM is getting raided, On a day his health minister is in jail, he can pull out New York Times to his defense and make a debate for 40 minutes about New York Times, which has nothing to do with this. Whether it's a pamphlet, whether it's a holy grail, has nothing to do with a CBI raid on an excise policy scam in Delhi. He has become chief minister with his communication. Let us not allow that to go ahead. What is the fact of this case? 30 crore given back by government. As a lawyer, let me tell you just one part of the scam. Anytime you want money from the government, you have to knock in courts, get a judgment. After judgment, file a contempt petition that we have won the case, we have still not received the money from the government. That is the reality. Any lawyer will tell you. And here, they get 30 crore back, they get waivers of 144 crores. All that happens. Unfortunately for Mr. Kejriwal, it may be superb communication to bring New York Times to your defense in a scam of excise, but in courts it doesn't pay. He made allegations on Mr. Gadkari, Mr. Jaitley, he had to apologize. It doesn't stand in court. His health minister is still in jail because it doesn't stand in court. Similarly, if CBI has a good case, it will not stand in court, and he may well end up apologizing for the scam to the public of Delhi and India, saying mujhe to ye sab pata hi nahi tha.
We're still awaiting that answer to that one big question, viewers. Why was the new excise policy scrapped in favor of the old one right after an inquiry was ordered? We might read about it in the New York Times in a few days. Hopefully they'll give us the answer. Till then, Sanjay Jha and Dr. Suman C. Raman, keep reading the New York Times. You might find the exclusive there. I'll take a quick one, viewers, across